Okay, because we talk about discovering ourselves, using ourselves for therapy, we cannot avoid vulnerability. When you talk to people that, they could turn back and say, you don't tell me not to do, you did it too, right? It can be vulnerable. But you, of course, you know what to say, right? Yeah, it's nature to be anxious about personal failures and weaknesses. It's hard, isn't it? You know what my weakness is? Compulsivity. Waste too much time. Distractibility. Couldn't focus on the major because I don't want to face the major task. It's too difficult, too effortful. I got to do something that's light, you know. I clean the kitchen, put things away, even though it's been there for 20 months. But I find reason to clean up, right? Because I avoid heavy-duty stuff. And so, I mean, a lot of times we could not face our own failures. So today we're going to give you an inventory of self. You don't have to share if you don't want to. You could write it down. You could keep it until you're ready to share, okay? And each therapist must accept and transcend your limitations and vulnerability. That's growth. We need to learn to grow. And also we heal ourselves so that we can help the clients to heal. Okay, now we talk about a lot about self-disclosure, but it is potential risk when you do self-disclosure. But by and large, you have more benefit for the clients if you're discreet. And so the most important thing is the last point here. Self-disclosure strengthens the therapeutic bond. That's what it should do. Self-disclosure humanizes the therapist and facilitates more human exchange. Now then, say, well, okay, what would I do with a 3-year-old, 7-year-old? You know, what do I do with somebody who's older? But somehow you are equipped to do it. I had a 7-year-old girl, very precocious, from a family. Father is a high-tech guy. Mother is a social, not therapist, but not social worker, but in between, working with human resources. And a brother who's highly autistic. And so we just kind of, you can imagine the family dynamic and the needs and all that. It's heavy duty. One day after 3 sessions, she's a little wee 7-year-old. She came to my office, walked straight to where you sat in that couch. She lay down with the pillow. I know I cannot change my mom. And I also know that I cannot change my dad, but I can change myself. So don't think young children don't know how to understand or how to act. She felt free to come to my office. She wouldn't share with mom, she wouldn't share with dad, but she comes to me. It's amazing, right? So with those children, that's where you need to have new skills and to allow them. And don't underestimate their ability to absorb the essence and what you teach them. And they could be so creative. They use your word and they do different things. This is why I thought, everybody needs to have a sand tray. Because that's where they do their activity, creativity, or pictures. Children draw pictures and ask them, what is the story here? And they will reveal to them through pictures. And, okay, do a dance. I have a student who's in drama therapy. It's amazing how you could express yourself in action. And kids love that. young people do now, you know? And so it is so important. All right, we talk about that a little bit, hindering effect of self-disclosure. Violation of boundary. That's what the Paul's client said. You violated the boundary of time. Yes, you could have. And reversal. You know, you started to, because it triggers your own needs, so you started to talk. It's not for the client when you were disclosing, because it's for your own needs. When you catch yourself doing that, it's so important. They say, uh-oh, I'm saying this not for the good of the client because I need to. Right away, you need to get somebody to talk with you. You get a counselor, you get a therapist, or you get groups, you know, your peer supervision.
So, quick question.
Yes.
In terms of boundaries, setting boundaries with clients, sometimes some of my clients, I mean, I do have a lot of teenage clients that I work with, teenagers that I
Yes.
work with, and sometimes we do go for lunch together, and I find that's the way, a teenager, that's the way of hooking them in, because sitting down to me talking across a desk doesn't work for them. So some of it I do take them out, maybe whether it's McDonald's, getting a coffee or maybe a salad or something like that, some food. I do that with them, and I think I find that you may not look at it as being appropriate. That's what I do with them, and we have dinner, and then I get more information from them than just sitting in the office having a discussion with them.
Well, Carl was saying, did he violate the boundary by taking the teenagers who have issues and they are his clients to McDonald's for lunch? How many people say yes, he violated the boundary? Did you feel that you violated the boundary of clients and therapists?
I didn't think that until when you brought up that.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Wong.
Because I mean, typically with my work with kids, sometimes that's appropriate. So I do that, and I think maybe because sometimes that's already established rapport with them, so it may not necessarily be valid because they've already established that we can go out for lunch.
You already have a very solid bonding,
right.
And you felt that by taking them to lunch, you get more out of them, and you can share more with them.
Right.
Do you see any violation? I don't think so.
Okay.
Yes.
But the problem is at the center I work for, we used to do that. Because of the insurance and malpractice insurance, we can't.
According to the insurance policy, you're not allowed?
Yeah,
So maybe that is something you need to examine your policy in the agency.
Actually, I have two insurance. One with work, like my professional job that I do at CES. It's allowed.
Okay.
You see, you have to look at the policy of your agency, okay? When would that be a violation of boundary?
Well, so the only
Yes,
red
Joe?
flag that I heard at all was to get more information out of them. That piece sounds like it's more, that piece is more for you. And I'm just curious, is that a small piece of the decision to go to McDonald's, or is it more just to build and connect on a deeper level for the client's well-being?
Well, it's not necessarily for my well-being or I don't really get anything on it. I find that once I get more out of them, I find maybe I should rephrase it differently. In terms of reframing it more, when I take a client out to lunch, food sometimes brings people on the same mutual level.
Yes.
They speak more openly about things. So I find that when I take them out for lunch, they're able to share more, and I'm able to gather more clinical information about them and able to access services that they require.
Okay.
So the consequence of your action is a positive for the client,
Right.
because you can share meals with them, and they are more relaxed and share with you. Who paid for the lunch?
My agency pays for the lunch. The agency would pay for the lunch.
So you share your lunch money with your client.
The agency, so I don't pay.
Oh, the agencies,
Yes, I obviously pay first, and then I'd be reimbursed.
They reimburse you. So in other words, your agency approve of the
Yeah.
lunch.
Yeah.
And does the client know that if you're paying for it personally or if you're reimbursed, does that come up at all? Or is it just not really discussed?
Not really. Like, I mean, sometimes they know that something I will put in for reimbursement. I would say that I put it in for reimbursement. They know.
That's a good question. Does your client know that you are not paying for the lunch and if it's the agency? How would you handle that? Would you just go and say, we'll have lunch and now I pay, but I didn't pay it out of my own pocket? Yeah, that's kind of, that doesn't go very well, does it?
No, I don't necessarily always say that. For example, if I have a client that I'm working with, because my job will be, scope of practice in terms of social work, be a little bit different from yours in terms of private practice. So I think some of it is probably it's more, it would be allowable in terms of for me to, will be allowed rather, than for me to take them out for lunch. And it may come up, it may not come up. I mean, I don't necessarily say with a big flag, okay, I'll be reimbursed for my lunch I take you out on, but I mean, for like somebody's birthday, if I have a report with the client for a long period of time, I have a client that I've been working with since he was 13. He's been turned 21. So we're closing his file.
Yeah.
So I took him out actually to the keg, because I know he likes that, for his birthday and actually a goodbye dinner. So it was actually more than, he ate a lot. He did. So it was more than what the agency would cover.
Yeah.
So I paid for it anyways. I worked with this kid for a long time. We have a really good relationship, professional relationship. That's scope of practice. That's why I paid for it.
I think in situations like this,
Right.
you got to think about the ethical issues.
Right.
You got to do it the right way.
Right.
Because you say, oh, I didn't pay for that, and that cuts the joy and the relationship.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't, they don't care whether you pay for it or the agency pay for it, right? Most of children don't.
No.
And the only thing is, are there situations that it is not good? For example, if you have an attractive lady as a client, you want to take her out for lunch. Now that is vulnerable,
No.
right?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Right?
Doesn't have to be a lady nowadays.
Right, you're right.
But for me, when I take a client out, I don't take a client out the first time, though. Never. It would have to be under certain circumstances. Like I'm just picking a client up, moving him from a home, and they haven't eaten dinner. I make it into a dog because they're hungry.
Yes.
So I probably will do that. But if I meet a client for the first time, it takes generally a number of sessions before I'm comfortable with going with them in public by myself for a dinner. I wouldn't do that on the onset. No.
Yeah. You see, you have something to say?
I was just also thinking it also could depend on which model the program is based. Like I once worked in a program that was based on the psychosocial rehabilitative model. And in that model, we were allowed to take the students or clients out for a coffee. And we could also pay for their bus fare on occasion if we had to take them to a doctor's appointment.
These unusual happenings, you've got to be very clear the policies of your agency and think about the benefit of the client and ethical issues. What might happen down the road? Am I just being too
Too nice?
no, I mean, too suspicious or too much, thinking too much? No, because we're dealing with human beings. They could misinterpret anything that we do, depending on their mental set.
Right.
On their mindset, we don't understand, right? We could only take a peek of what it is at that particular moment. This is why I emphasize here and now, and then give them tools that they could move forward. And of course, when self-disclosure could be burdensome for the client. And as I mentioned, yesterday, the supervisor completely dump everything onto the supervisee, and the same thing as the counselor dumps everything on the client. So this is why we had to be careful. And feeling uncomfortable about the level of intimacy, yeah, sometimes, you know, like when we share too much, your client is not, you know, like some clients are huggable, you know, loving and all warm from environment, and they would find that it was okay. But then some people say, oh, why would you tell me that, you know? Yeah. So you got to watch the body language, and you got to understand where the clients are coming from. But facilitating effect of self-disclosure, and we talk about building rapport very quickly, because, you know, it's you know what I'm talking about, whoa, you know, like we have, and more on the same level, you know, kind of relationship, and resonate with the needs, and so they kind of indicate, and that you understand them. Okay, yes, you do. You know, as you said, you've been with the client for 13, from how many years, and you get a deeper connection. And so you encourage the client to take risks to disclose to you. So perfect timing. My husband needs to go, and I'm going to assist him. And in the meantime, I'm going to give you have a copy.